Hello and welcome everyone to Jedi Eternal. I'm one of your hosts, Andrew Bolin, alongside the Jedi, Braxton Taylor.
Oh, wow. Creative.
So my daughter has been excited for weeks because I told her that she could choose what I call you for this episode.
Nice.
And so she's been very excited. Yeah. And yes, her choice was Jedi Braxton Taylor.
Wow, that's the nicest thing that's ever been said about me on this show.
You were definitely expecting it to be something
I was. I honestly thought it would be some kind of like third grade, insult. It really wasn't, and I'm very happy about that.
Like poo-poo head Braxton
Yes,
Taylor.
that's exactly what I thought it was. So, Taylor, thank you.
But yeah, there you go. Braxton Jedi Taylor.
Well,
Jedi
Braxton Taylor. It's an honor thing. It's respect. You gotta say it right.
It's a Friday,
Honestly, it is Friday, and it's for us it's nearing 8:00 in the evening.
Yeah, we're doing things a little different than normal.
So real quick, Mr. Jedi Bolin. I was gonna say, I don't know what I was gonna say. Anyway. Yeah. Mr. Bolin here got a brand new job, a sparkling new job. We're so happy for him.
Yes.
I see this guy every single week, and he doesn't tell me, and just all of a sudden, like, oh, by the way, I got a new job. I'm like, I wish you would have told me before all this happened, let me in the decision.
You may have had something to say about that.
I might have had something to say, so.
So I did. I started a new job, and that's why we're starting later today, because I'm still in that training process.
Right.
I'm having to stay there a little later than hopefully I will be in the future.
Yeah.
But
well, congratulations to you, sir.
Oh, thank you. Yes. It's been fun so far. So
yeah. Well, so before we go any further, this is this is a congratulations on your new job thing, but not really. So many months ago, as Andrew has apparently made me aware of, if you remember, it was around Christmas time, and we was doing an episode, I don't remember which one it was, and Andrew put me on the spot, and he tried to give me a Christmas present on here.
Wait, did you say I tried to give you?
Well, he gave me, I don't know.
I was gonna say, anyway. I gave you a Christmas present.
Well, maybe as I'm going to say, he tried to put me on the spot. I don't know. I don't know what I'm trying to say. Point is that he gave me a Christmas present on the spot, and I said, I felt bad, because I bought you something.
Yeah. Can you turn yourself down a little bit? You're clipping.
Excuse me for being excited, so.
I'm just saying.
See, and then I remind this guy. I said, hey, you remember that Christmas present I told you I was going to get you? No, not really. I'm like, oh, thank you. This is just something I custom made. Custom made.
Christmas was forever ago.
See how he treats me? I buy him something custom made.
How am I supposed to remember that?
Good grief. Anyway, so after a very long, arduous time, we it was in the mail. I bought it early November or mid-November, and it was supposed to come by December. And then, like I said, since it was custom, this guy was anyway. I'll explain more of it later. But it's supposed to come updated mid-January, and here we are, early March now. But it finally came in. So, ladies and gentlemen, Andrew, are you ready?
Actually do have it.
I actually do.
I asked you about this earlier, and then you were just like,
I made you think that I didn't. Yeah. So, are you ready for this?
I'm ready. I'm excited.
So, close your eyes. Okay. All right. So, ladies and gentlemen, I present to you not just a brand new employee at insert
you
here.
You don't even know where I
don't
work.
Care. But now I dub the Andrew Jedi Bolin as a New Republic Marshal / Ranger. You may open your eyes now.
No way.
Take a look at it, my friend.
Oh, dude.
Take a look at that. And the Arabesh on the back says, "The New Republic, protect and rebuild."
Wow.
Yes.
That is amazing.
So, you guys are not knowing what we're talking about at all, but basically, in season 2 of Mandalorian, that pilot guy, I can't remember his name, but basically whenever Cara Dune got inducted as the Marshal of the New Republic for that area, he gave her a badge for the New Republic that all the Rangers and all the Marshals get. So I got a custom-made New Republic badge.
It's beautiful.
And it's metal and has enamel paint on it. It's really nice. I really like it. I thought it turned out really good.
Yeah, that is gorgeous. Wow, thank you. I love it.
You're welcome.
We'll have to share this.
Take a picture of it or something like that.
Yeah, we'll wait for a little bit so people can hear the episode, but then we'll have to post it on the,
for sure. So I basically
it's got a good weight to it.
It's kind of hefty. It's kind of hefty. It looks pretty sick. It's life size. It's about the size of your palm. It's the same
Yeah.
size you'd see in the show.
That's gorgeous.
It's pretty neat.
I love that. Thank you so much.
You're very welcome. So you don't know this. I think I've told you this before, but it's nothing I've like really displayed. But when we were at 2019 Star Wars Celebration, I actually met a guy there when I was in line to perform one of the things. So there's one of those few times that we weren't together, and I met a guy. His name's Dino, and he has no clue about this podcast, so I'll probably butcher his last name, like Ignacio or something like that. But Dino, he's basically some guy who works in like media, stuff like that, but he's also a designer. And he loves Star Wars and he wants to make stuff. But in order to make things like that, you have to buy usually like 500. It basically, he charges you cost of what it is cost to make, because he doesn't care about making money. He just wants this thing. He designs it and he just gets people to buy it so he can make up to 500 total.
Wow.
Anyway, so
that's really
neat. They're not super cheap or anything, but at cost, I mean, it's much better than like what retail would be for that. So, Dino,
cool.
There's no way you're listening to this, but Dino, if you're hearing this,
you could tell him that you gave him a shout out. I guess.
Okay, well, Dino, if I ended up talking to you, anyway, so very cool stuff, Dino. Super excited for this. I know Andrew is pretty thrilled about too. I bought my own as well. I saw it and I knew immediately. I'm like, dude, I gotta get me one, Andrew and me one. So
yeah, now I'm just trying to like decide what I'm gonna do with it. Like,
I have it just set on my desk. Like, I don't know what I'm gonna do with it exactly yet, but
I mean, that might just be I might get like a little stand for it to sit in the stand, so then it kind of faces upward.
like a card like holder for cards.
Yeah,
and it kind of holds like that. And you can just set it like
and
that.
You can just sit it on there.
That's not a bad idea.
And just leave it on that desk over there. Yeah, that's
pretty
beautiful.
cool.
Thank you so much.
You're so welcome. So
that means a lot.
Merry Christmas and happy new job.
I will treasure that for years to come, for sure.
I'm glad.
Oh, but let's jump into the
podcast. Sorry about that, guys.
Now that we had our little Christmas break, let's jump into some news for you today. We're just gonna be real blunt with you. The news and rumors. And well, basically everything in this episode is a little light.
It's as heavy as last week was.
Right.
It's the opposite this week.
It was inevitable, as insane as last week's episode was, that we would have kind of a slow week. That's okay. We're just here to talk Star Wars, have a good time, and of course we hope that's the same for you guys. So let's just jump into it here. The first story we have today in our news is Star Wars Pinball VR, coming April 29th. So some of you may have played Star Wars Pinball. Zen Studios has been making that for a while, and that has been on different consoles and things throughout time. And now it is going to be releasing in VR, and that'll be on Oculus Quest 1 and 2, Steam VR, PlayStation VR, all on April 29th, just in time for May the 4th, the Star Wars Day.
Yeah.
So, it's going to launch with 8 tables. It's got a brand new Mandalorian and a Star Wars classic collectible table, along with 6 remastered favorites, including A New Hope, The Empire Strikes Back, Star Wars Return of the Jedi, Rogue One, Star Wars Rebels, and Masters of the Force. So, I'm sure if you can't afford to have a pinball machine, this would be fun. Or if you don't want to go to an arcade and touch a bunch of sticky buttons, then here is your other option. Do it in VR. So
yeah, I mean, there's not much to say about that.
I mean, really, not much else to say. If you like pinball, then I'm sure this is cool. If you don't like pinball, then this probably isn't that cool.
Well, then sorry.
I don't mind a game of pinball, but
no, I actually really do like pinball.
Yeah,
I think it's pretty fun. Now, I mean, I do personally like the real life pinball, but
sure. I have most experience in pinball like on the computer, like real old, and like press the space bar.
Yeah. It was like the one that was built into Microsoft 95 Word. What I'm saying. Windows 95.
Windows. It came with Windows. Yeah. I spent a lot of time playing that one in the past.
Me too.
That's probably the most pinball I've played is with that. So,
but hey, I mean, anything Star Wars related, it's got to be better.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Naturally, it's better.
I mean, I have an Oculus. So who knows? Maybe I'll pick this up.
Hey, I mean, same here.
This doesn't say how much it's gonna be, but like, if it's cheap, I mean,
if it's like $10
if it's
or
like
less,
$10, yeah.
I'd
I mean,
get
if it's
it.
like 30, then pass.
Yeah, no,
But-
yeah. Well, I mean, you got like the ILM stuff that's like 30s. There's no way that this is.
Oh well,
$30.
I don't know.
Well,
Yeah,
we'll
so
see.
the Oculus store can be pretty pricey.
Well, there's some
for
stuff that
free-
like that are like it's very simple stuff, and they're like $25 for like to like look around a scene, and that's it.
Exactly,
It's
that's
like,
what I mean.
Okay,
So,
hold on here.
so sometimes the pricing doesn't
Yeah.
make much sense. We're lucky that the Darth Vader series is as cheap as it is.
Yeah,
Because they could have charged a lot more than that based off of other games prices. But
yeah.
anyways,
absolutely.
let's go ahead and move on.
Let's move on. Enough about pinball. Anyway, so our second news piece for this week is that actually D. Bradley Baker. So those of you who are not familiar with Mr. Baker, and he is the voice of all of the clones in the Clone Wars series, and he is a absolute legend in the voice acting community. But he did all of the clones, and obviously, naturally, he's doing all the clones for the Bad Batch. And so recently, and Drew will have more about this, but they just wrapped up, obviously, with Bad Batch. They're getting ready to release it here soon on May 4th. And he actually says he praises the dramatic ending to Bad Batch. So apparently it's I don't know. I'm not going to put words in his mouth, but maybe a tearjerker, maybe it's something kind of surprising or crazy or dramatic. But
Yeah, he was interviewed by Disney D23 magazine, and they just asked him some different things about it, and so I'll just read. Quote, "It's a beautifully written show. Corbett and some other name are really smart, and they really love Star Wars. They're all the things that a fan could want for the best kind of Star Wars experience." I'm going to assume that's talking about the writer and the director. And then he goes on to say, quote, "It takes what we found in the Clone Wars to another level of depth and awesomeness. It's real Star Wars in the best possible sense. It's an amazingly dramatic and satisfying series or story for anyone, whether you know Star Wars or not, but especially if you love Star Wars," end quote. And then it goes on to say, quote, "A fan who has paid attention to where things ended in the Clone Wars might be able to guess where we're going to start in the Bad Batch," end quote. Which, of course, I mean, we assume it's going to begin right after Clone Wars,
right
after Order 66.
Right, or like at that transitional point.
Or in that
you know what I'm
transition
saying?
point, yeah.
Which that's going to be, I hope they don't skip over that, because I want to see how the Bad Batch reacts to the command, if they even get the command, or if they have the chips or whatever. Who knows? So we'll see about that. But
yeah, I mean, who knows? I want this to be good. I want this to be good so bad. I'm not sold on it yet at all.
Right.
Based off of what we've seen of the Bad Batch.
Right.
But man, if they can get this right and they can make it good, I'll be really excited about that.
Yeah, I mean, obviously. I mean, here's the thing. You don't want any Star Wars medium. Apologize, I'm taking my jacket off, so it's a little bit of noise here. Any Star Wars medium, show, book, anything, you don't want it to be bad. Obviously, you're hoping for the best. And, from what we've seen, this could be a little cheesy, a little goofy, who knows, right? And then they try to like wrap it up with something really dramatic at the end, and that just wouldn't work out. But it is very possible that this, as you said, could turn out good, and if it does turn out good, then it's going to be really good. So I'm just super excited to see what they're going to do with it. I mean, like you said, like we've said it a billion times, anything new Star Wars is good Star Wars. Some better than others, of course. But yeah, I hope they do hit the nail on the head.
I think you've got to hope that they've learned their lesson with the animated shows. And what I mean by that is that their biggest audience is adults.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
Adults are the reason that Clone Wars still exists.
Yeah.
Like, the reason that Clone Wars came back is because a bunch of grown adults wanted to see the ending of this show.
Well, I said we in our previous episode, for episode 50, we did our recap basically of our very first episode, which is like the state of Star Wars or the future of Star Wars. And I actually, for preparation for that episode, I went and re-listened to our first episode. And one of the things that I said was, there's a lot of things that are kid-centric in Star Wars. It's like, but here's the thing. Look at the Star Wars fan base. The original movies. Well, people who like the original movies are in their 50s and 60s now, if not older. People who like the prequels, who like us, or grew up the prequels, getting their 20s and 30s.
Yeah.
People with Clone Wars are getting into their 20s now. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, yes, Star Wars is always going to have a kid-centric, how do I say that? I don't want to say it like that. They're going to have kids in mind, right?
Right.
But they also need to be cognitive of who is their major supporters, though, like you said.
Exactly. And no, I agree with you. Star Wars is always going to be considering children. I mean, because I mean, George Lucas will tell you himself that Star Wars was made for kids.
Yeah.
That's just the bare bones fact of it all. But it has progressed to the point now where most of these kids that originally watched Star Wars, like you said, are old. We are all, and now what keeps Star Wars going are adults.
Right.
And so with that being said, let's let a show like The Bad Batch be for the adults.
Well, and here's the thing. Sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say there are shows like Star Wars Resistance, which is definitely a kid's show.
Right.
And that's perfectly okay.
Yeah.
That's great. Let's keep getting shows like Star Wars Resistance that you can watch with your kid if you want, just to and it's better than watching Doc McStuffins, trust me.
Yeah. At least it has something to do with Star Wars.
At least
I guess,
you can
right?
watch. Yeah, at least it can be Star Wars, even if it's still not that great.
Right. Yeah.
But then let's also let something like The Bad Batch be for the adults. And if you look at it like this way, the Clone Wars, we grew up with Clone Wars, which when I say we, like, I was already like 15 or whatever, 16 or something, but still, a lot of people have kind of grown up with Clone Wars. So now this Bad Batch, which is continuing off the Clone Wars, is a perfect time to continue that story for an older audience that grew up with Clone Wars.
Right.
Again, I don't know that that's what Bad Batch is going to be. I worry that they're still going to focus so much on making it goofy so kids can laugh.
Look at how the precedents that they set for the Bad Batch.
Exactly, and that's my fear.
Right.
But I'm still just waiting for that day when they're like, you know what? This animated show is for the boys. You know what I mean?
For the boys, baby.
For the boys.
For the men. No, here's the thing. And this is like...
when I say boys, I mean boys with a Z.
Yeah, right. B-O-Y-Z.
Sorry. Go ahead.
No, so, I mean, here's the thing. And this is speaking to a broader issue that's not necessarily Star Wars, but you got to think of our culture. Think of the United States culture compared to, like, the Japanese culture. If you are an adult who watches an animated television show or an animated movie in either of these two cultures, you're viewed in two very big different ways. You can be an adult, like you could be in your 50s, and it's just normal in Japan to watch anime, right? To watch animation, right? But then it's a common trope in our culture that if you watch animation in any context as an adult, you're just a child or you're childish or furthermore, it's not necessarily that you are childish, but it needs to be childish because animation's for children, right? So if we can overcome that stigma and that thought process that, hey, you can still watch an animated show, but yet it could be adult related, you know what I'm saying? Or, it doesn't need to be explicit or anything like that, but I'm just saying have adult themes or more, darker or deeper story plots. That's not just like, oh, two droids are in a market trying to find berries,
Exactly.
and their shenanigans, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Hey, a lot of people think that's some of the best episodes of Clone Wars.
And I'm not saying, and here's the thing, you know me, I love Clone Wars and I love those episodes, but at the same time, when the whole show was like that, i.e. Resistance, you know what I'm saying?
I get exactly what you're saying.
Yeah.
And like you said, I'm not asking for this show to have explicit content in it. I'm not asking for it to have like a bunch of gore and like I'm not asking for anything like that. Just I'm just saying, just some more adult themes, like being able to tell a little bit of a darker story, maybe a
dealing
more
with
complex
death,
story,
and things of that nature.
Being able to show maybe some death and
the grittiness of battle,
which Clone Wars did dive into that sometimes.
Yeah.
But sometimes the shows would hurry and cut away like right before
the saber struck down. It would go to the next scene or something.
And I say give us a little bit more of the the violence from it.
Yeah,
You know?
I mean, it's the realness of what's
Right.
happening. I mean, at the end of the day, the lightsaber still hit that person. You know.
Yeah. So, anyways, we managed to talk about that for a really long time. So,
Yeah. So anyway, long story short, we're hoping Bad Batch turns out well. D. Bradley Baker thought it was.
It just
good,
felt like
so.
a really good time to discuss that.
Yeah. We don't have much else.
We
to
don't
talk
have
about
much, so we
anyways.
just. Okay, moving on. This actually is a very interesting story. Probably the most interesting story of our episode, in my opinion. I'm gonna butcher this, but
You
yeah.
better not.
Obi-Wan Kenobi Disney Plus series cast Indira Varma.
Nice.
So, Indira Varma has joined the Kenobi series. Her role is being kept under wraps.
Mm-hmm. So Indira, I believe she was in Game of Thrones. I believe, right? She was not a huge role in that, but I think in the later seasons she was a decent sized role in that.
It says she currently stars in the ABC legal drama For Life. She's also known for appearing as Ilaria Sand in Game of Thrones.
Sand, yes.
Also Patrick Melrose, Paranoid in Carnival Row.
Which is funny because I believe her character is the sister to the Mandalorian. I can't remember his name off the top of my head, but
Pedro Pascal.
Pedro Pascal. Anyway,
Oh,
and
interesting.
you remember that anyway. So point is, she does have quite a bit of experience in acting and being an actress and whatnot, and she's in a lot of big stuff. Of course, who knows what her role is going to be? Maybe she's a Tatooine native, or she's a mysterious Empire person that comes by and tries to help Obi-Wan. Who knows, right? I don't know, right? But there's not a lot to say about this, just as much as that, hey, we're getting more news about the Obi-Wan series, and that's always good, of course. And she's well known. She's good.
Well, and so fans have been digging around with this because of the reason that they're saying this role is being kept under wraps.
Yeah.
So that makes people think that there is some significance to that. And the current idea is that maybe she's playing Satine.
Okay.
For flashbacks.
Hold on. She doesn't even look like Satine, like at all. I mean, that's just my opinion, I suppose.
Well,
but
don't think about the dark hair. Think about
let me look at a picture.
Yeah.
Again.
Pull up a picture of her and Satine at the same time and give us, which Satine is an animated character, but.
And here's the thing. I know he's gonna say something probably about okay. If they give her like a wig, I could kind of see that. I mean, her facial structure is a little different too. But anyway, so my point was that okay, if it's under wraps, it's probably a bigger character. And if she's a bigger character and it's under wraps, I would imagine I would imagine that you would say that it's a love interest. And I'm just saying, listen. Are
you saying I would say it's a love
I
interest?
thought that's what you were alluding to when you were saying that. You know what I'm saying? So my point is that if Obi-Wan has any love interest, it better be Satine and Satine only. Like that's all I'm saying. And I don't care who plays. If Indira Varma or whatever, if she wants to be Satine, she becomes Satine. Okay, great. I'm just saying it needs to be Satine. That's all I'm saying about it. You know what I'm saying?
You don't want Kenobi to be able to
no.
to find love in the desert?
No. I love Obi-Wan, but the only person that is worthy of Obi-Wan is Satine. So, I'm just saying.
I don't know. I kind of like the idea that maybe he finds some love in the desert. The only problem is she has either passed already by the time, which would be sad, by the time we get to A New Hope.
Yeah.
Or for some reason she's out of the picture. So it would, unfortunately, no matter what, it's a tragic ending still for.
Yeah, I guess either way, yeah.
So I mean, Kenobi is always so dedicated to the Jedi code that I don't see him, because even with Satine, he loves Satine, but he never initiated anything because of the Order.
Right, exactly. And that's my point, is that if he didn't do anything even for Satine, then he better not be doing it for anybody else. That's all I'm saying. Because I think that would kind of almost take away from his character a little bit. Because even to the end, he's still stuck with it, and he pushed away his own personal wants and needs and protected Luke. You know what I'm saying? I don't know. That's just the way I look at it. But
yeah. Well, some other people think maybe she's going to play the seventh sister.
Oh, and yes, that's what I want to say. If you look up a picture of the seventh sister, she does look similar to her.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I thought. And it's going to be after that timeline. It's going to be a little bit after, so she could be a little bit older.
A little bit after what?
When we see her in Fallen Order. Jedi Fallen Order.
Do we see the seventh sister?
Maybe I'm thinking of the wrong sister.
The seventh sister is in Rebels. So we would be seeing her before her appearance in Rebels.
Oh, yes. I was thinking of the wrong sister. My apologies.
Because
okay, I can see that too.
We've talked before about how like you kind of have to imagine that there's going to be maybe some Inquisitors involved.
Oh yeah,
in hunting Kenobi or something, right? We've also heard that there's like some kind of clone trooper squad that's hunting Kenobi. So who knows what it's going to really be? But you have to imagine they're going to be pulling out all the big guns for Kenobi.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I was thinking of the second sister. That's the reason. Whatever. So yes, I could definitely see. I could see it being the whoever you said.
Seventh sister.
Yeah.
Whoever it is, I don't know anymore. All right, well, let's move on. Again, we're finding a lot of padding here.
Yeah.
We're gonna jump into our rumors. And our first rumor is one that might bring a little bit of joy to some recent controversial events.
Bring some light to some stuff.
Gina Carano has been kicked from Star Wars. She's gone. See you later. Her character has basically, from what we understand, sounds like her character is being wiped from existence. They canceled the toys, everything. She is Cara Dune is no more and no longer important.
Yeah.
So all that being said, the new rumor is that Hera Syndulla is going to be kind of basically taking over her role in Rangers of the New Republic. What's your thoughts on that?
That's here's the thing. I don't like the idea of her being kicked in terms of like the character being gone. You know what I'm saying? I just think that's going to create some continuity issues. But I love the character of Hera way more than I like the character of Cara Dune. So going into Rangers of the New Republic, it would make sense that Hera would be a part of that, first of all.
Sure.
And if she becomes a big part of that and they do it right, I think that'd be pretty awesome. Despite of all the setbacks of having the continuity issues with Cara Dune, that is a pretty sweet trade-off if that's true. That's the way I look at it anyway.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I agree 100%. I love the character of Hera Syndulla. I've been following this character for a long time now through different mediums. Hera was one of our first. She was one of the first characters they focused on in the new canon books.
Yeah.
Her relationship with Kanan was the very first Star Wars book we got in canon, in current canon, and ever since we've been following her throughout lots of different things, including Rebels, of course, being her biggest and most important.
Yeah.
But she's also been in other books, other comics, video games. She's one of those characters that has now carried across about everything in Star Wars.
Right.
And we even hear them mention her name in
Solo?
No,
or was it
Rogue One.
Rogue One.
In Rogue One.
I can remember which one it was. Yeah.
And she's pretty much assumed to be there at the battle at the end of Rise of Skywalker. Her ship is there.
I've seen that as well. Yeah.
So all of that being said, I think this makes perfect sense for her to be in this show.
Oh yeah,
I would love it. I would be much more excited about the show if she's involved because, again, she's connected to so much history of Star Wars.
Right.
And I just think that would be great. She's worked alongside so many of the legends and there's just so much. And, of course, you also have to think about it this way. We know this show is part of this new
event series
that they're working towards. And what else does that involve? It involves Thrawn. It involves Ezra.
There you go.
It involves Ahsoka.
Yeah.
And of course, Hera has a lot of history with those characters. So again, it just makes perfect sense.
I mean, like I said, so if there ever was going to be a replacement, this is a perfect replacement.
Honestly, I think it's crazy if she's a replacement. I would hope that Hera was always...
Yeah, I hope she was originally always a big part of it.
I mean, like...
And that Cara Dune would have been just like someone who kind of came in and tied those two different sides of the universe together. You know?
I personally hope that this whole replacement thing is more speculation and that Hera was always involved, because I think...
I agree.
I think that she needs to be in one of these series, because I think she plays an important role in these other characters' stories that we know we're getting.
Yeah, absolutely.
And going a little deeper into this, they talked about this show and Hera specifically being a bridge to The Mandalorian to its spin-off shows. And they also, and this all came from LRM Online, they also shared that it will be sometime until production for the Rangers series commences. And it's being reported that Lucasfilm creatives are encountering some problems in making sure that Rangers of the New Republic properly connects to the universe already set up by The Mandalorian.
I wonder in what way.
So what does that mean?
Yeah, I really don't, I don't think I would have to hazard a guess on that one. I really don't know yet. Yeah, like I said, I need more context to really even guess as to what that even means. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. It's
I mean, could it be something to do with Cara Dune? I mean, I don't know, right?
I mean, maybe they're having differences on how this story plays into the rest of the
right.
series. And maybe it is because maybe it's because they had Cara Dune and they now are truly replacing her for Hera. Mm-hmm. And that does, you would assume, have a lot of effects for what happens later.
Well, here's the thing.
Because
think of this. At this point, other than just being the fact that they're fighting on the same side, what does Hera have to do with Mando, or with Boba Fett, or with any of these? Right? What does Hera have to do? I mean, we don't see any of these people or characters in Rebels, so I do think that Cara Dune was meant to bridge that gap and tie that in so that Cara Dune and Hera become cohorts, and as a newly minted ranger or marshal of the New Republic, she's helping Hera, and that Hera's a huge part of it, and also Cara Dune is a big part of it. Again, it bridges that gap, so then whenever Mando or whoever needs help in this event series, that he calls on Cara Dune, and Cara Dune's like, hey, I'm going to have to go do this thing. She's like, no, without me, you're not, kind of thing. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, yeah, I do think now there is that kind of odd link. How do they link it now? So I do think that is a part of it now. I'm talking about it.
Well, I guess only time will tell.
Very true. Okay, so we're getting some more rumors on the Andor series, but this is actually some pretty spicy tuna on this one here, a little spicy sauce here. And that
this one's
is
very spicy.
Very spicy.
Especially for you and me.
Yes. Is that on the Andor series, it is rumored that Ewan McGregor is supposed to appear on the Andor series. So, honestly, though, it's super exciting to see Ewan again, but I'm not really sure what context he would be in.
But who could he be playing?
I have honestly no clue who he would be playing, though.
Yeah,
maybe Mace Windu.
He's a great actor, so I'm sure they'll find good use for
something.
Him.
How funny would be though, for real? How funny would it be if they bring Ewan McGregor and he's not actually Obi-Wan, and it's just like some random bystander? That would be so bad.
I'd
honestly.
get up and I'd throw my TV across the room.
I would deactivate Disney Plus and just walk off immediately.
Yeah. So this is really interesting. Let's go ahead and get this out of the way. Is this rumor most likely happening? Probably not. Let's just go ahead and say that.
Yeah.
I think there's a good chance this probably isn't real. But let's talk about it like it is. Let's talk about it like it is, because first of all, even just for you and me, but this goes, I think, for a lot of people, and probably a lot of people that are listening.
Yeah.
If Obi-Wan Kenobi is in Andor, our excitement just went
through the roof.
Literally.
Like literally, it took me from this is I really couldn't care less about the show, but hey, it's Star Wars. Like, oh my gosh, I'm watching every episode just in case Obi-Wan's in it again.
Yeah, exactly. And we figured we'll get some familiar faces through the series.
Yeah.
And of course, I never anticipated Kenobi could be one of those, but
the timeline matches up to some degree.
The timeline,
right?
It works. We're not super set, I think, on when Andor exactly is taking place just yet.
Like how close it is to Rogue One.
Right. That's the big question: is how close are we to Rogue One at the beginning of this show? Are they going to be so? Anyways, so they might have to make him look even older. But what's interesting is we're getting the show before the Kenobi series. So if we get him in Andor, that's actually our next appearance of Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Which, I as an Obi-Wan fan, like diehard fan, my favorite character type thing, like of course I want to see Obi-Wan in anything, especially with Ewan McGregor, it's just amazing. But part of me is almost like, does it kind of take away the just like, I don't know how I'm trying to say, what I'm saying?
I do know what you're saying, and it will. That's the thing. If this happens, Kenobi, I mean, trust me, we're still going to be excited about Kenobi.
It's going to be the best thing ever.
We're going to love it. But yeah, it's going to take away from what makes Kenobi so special.
Right.
If we're getting him back as Obi-Wan in a show before that. And maybe it's just a small little tease.
Well, this is what I was going to say. This was what I was going to say at the very beginning. I don't think he's going to be a regular character.
No.
My thought is that they heard about this rumor that he was in the show. I guarantee you that at the very end at the show, at the very last episode, the next show after Andor will most likely be Kenobi, if I'm not mistaken, at least, or very close to it.
It'll be in the running.
And here's the thing: it may not be the next show, but in terms of timeline, it's very close. So I could definitely see like one of the last episodes, like they show Obi-Wan, just like a brief glimpse, or maybe even just like from behind, or you hear his voice, or something like that. I don't think he's going to be a recurring like character in the show. That's just my opinion.
Yeah, no, I don't think we're gonna get a bunch of them. I think if anything, he'll have a very short appearance in the episode, or kind of like the Mandalorian, one episode he's involved and then he's out, something like that.
Kind of like with the whole Luke thing, yeah.
Right. But see, what would be weird is you would get an older Kenobi. We assume from this, he'd be quite older, and then we get Kenobi, so we'd be going back
in time.
We'd be going back in time,
right?
Because Kenobi, I think, is only going to be like 6 years after,
something like that. Yeah,
I want to say they said 6 years. I don't know, something like that.
Well, I know it's 6 years after Order 66 in Jedi Fallen Order, so I don't know if that's what you're thinking of or not, but
maybe it is. I don't know. But anyways, but we know he's going to be still kind of younger. He's not going to have gotten to old Ben just yet. Right. And so, but depending on the timeline of Andor, he might very well be pretty close to being old Ben.
Which I think it could still work, because if we've never seen old Ben before, then yeah, I think that would be an issue. But I think the fact that we already know Alec Guinness and we know old Ben so well, they could probably get away with him showing a little bit older and then going back to his younger, to like get his backstory type thing, which we already know his backstory. But you know what I'm saying? I don't know. I'm saying, like, at the end of the day, I don't know that this is, going to happen, but I do think that they could get away with it if they wanted to.
That's the thing. Is it necessary? No. But are they going to do it to encourage people to come and watch the show?
Right.
Maybe.
Yeah, it's to hype it up, to give it some legitimacy and context. I definitely think that would absolutely help things.
Let's be honest. Look at the success of The Mandalorian. Yes, people love Mando. People love Baby Yoda, but some of the big things that really got people excited in this past season were the things that we could connect to and remembered from other things, including Luke and Boba Fett, all these characters that connected and that we have grown to love.
I mean, love or hate it, there's a lot of nostalgia packed within those characters that people just know and love.
And if Kenobi shows up on Andor, it's going to, everyone's going to go crazy. It's going to be everywhere. Maybe. It's going to be, everyone's going to be talking about Andor.
Yeah.
And so Disney has to make those decisions on.
Knowing the Disney, it's they don't care about how it's going to affect other stories or canon or anything.
Yeah, and so you can't really blame them for thinking about doing it,
right?
Since the timeline does fit. But anyways,
well, so real quick, so there's a last thing that we'll say on this rumor, and actually we'll be done with the rumors. But it's one last thing to tie on to this, and it's kind of a given, I think. I think it's something that is not even necessarily needs to be rumored, but we've heard about as a rumor, so we just want to say it. And that is, it is rumored that Ahsoka will appear in Andor as Fulcrum, as we see in Rebels. Again, there's not much to say about that. I think it is almost a given at this point, but I did want to mention it just because it's been floating around and we just want to mention it. So,
yeah, I mean, I think again that makes sense because of Rebels. She is Fulcrum, and we know this is going to be set prior to Rebels, but it could very well maybe show the origins of her becoming Fulcrum, unless we already got that in the Ahsoka novel. Did we get that in the Ahsoka novel? I don't remember. But at the same time, I don't want to necessarily say it's a given. I don't know that I'm going to go that far because they may want to. Well, isn't Andor also Fulcrum?
Because there are multiple Fulcrums.
I think they call him that as well.
So I want to say that originally Anakin was like a Fulcrum too.
So it definitely makes sense to somehow like end up them meeting at some point. It would make sense, and maybe pass on that code name, or something along the lines of that. But I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess
because you're right. Because Ahsoka, because Anakin uses that in an episode of something. He uses
Wars,
it,
I believe,
and then Ahsoka uses it somewhere else in Clone Wars.
Right.
And then later on, she continues to use that. Yeah. I remember that now.
So I guess we'll figure out more as the show comes about.
But you have to think about it. If Andor can you look up and see if Andor uses that? Look that up real quick, because if he does, there has to have been a reason why he did. So maybe that does require some kind of meeting with Ahsoka.
And so there's maybe like a connection about all the Fulcrums and stuff. Notice that casting Andor section, one of his operation is Fulcrum. So
that's one of his
quartering to this.
Quartering.
Yes. And also on Star Wars.fandom, it says Captain Cassian Andor of the Alliance to restore the Republic was a Fulcrum recruitment agent to the Alberrios sector.
Oh, he's a Fulcrum recruitment agent.
Yeah.
So he recruits Fulcrums.
So that could be the connection right there too.
Maybe.
So here's the thing.
But they've already established the name Fulcrum, which we know kind of comes from Ahsoka.
Yeah, to some degree. Yeah. I don't know. I guess we'll figure it out.
That's we're really diving deep into these.
We're
today,
really getting in there. Yeah.
Let's move on for now. I'm sure we will eventually figure out that stuff as time goes on and as these stories get closer. But for now, we're going to jump out of releases and we're going to dive into our. Oh, sorry, I said that wrong. We're going to jump out of rumors and dive into our releases. I don't think I said that right the first time.
Probably not.
This week, we have a new Star Wars comic. This is issue 12. Operation Starlight is still going on. So again, there might be some little connections to the High Republic in there if you're interested. That's the only thing we have coming this week, actually, is just that comic issue. Again, it's kind of a slow time for releases in Star Wars, even though I will say Victory's Price, the last novel in the Alphabet Squadron, did just come out this past week. I have it here at my home. I have not read it yet. I've not even opened it yet. I've not opened the book. But I am very excited to get into that. Here soon, we will do an Into the Dark review.
Yeah.
We'll talk about that. We were actually required to do that by Disney because they gave us a review copy.
Yeah.
So we do need to really get on that.
As the resident reader, you need to get cracking on that, man.
Yeah. So we'll do that review as soon as we can. And we'll probably do a kind of a review on the Victory's Prize, but maybe kind of an overall discussion about the Alphabet Squadron trilogy as a whole, and kind of just do like a spoiler discussion on that trilogy for those that might be interested in hearing that. So be on the lookout for that stuff. We'll be talking about that stuff soon. But moving on past that, I think we're going to be going to our Q&A.
Yes. So now we're going into a Q&A. So now NPR news. Anyway, So this week is going to be a little bit different. So we got some leftover questions accompanied with this week's questions. So what we're going to do this week, which is different from usual, is that we're going to utilize our Q&A for our main topic. So the reason we're doing this is because what I've noticed, except for a couple stray questions, which we'll get to next week, is that almost all of our questions are lightsaber-related questions. So I don't know if you guys were bouncing ideas off of each other in the comments or messing each other to link up or whatever, but almost all these questions have to do with lightsabers. So what we're going to do this week is we're going to talk about everything lightsabers. So we're going to talk about what a lightsaber is. We're going to talk about the history of lightsabers. We're going to talk about some of these really very cool, interesting questions about the physics behind lightsabers, things like nature. Maybe go through some combat forms and all that good stuff. So basically everything that you could want to know about a lightsaber is going to be in this episode. So it's going to be pretty fun. I'm excited to go ahead and do that because it's, doing a kind of a topical study, so to speak, of all these things is really cool. So I want to go ahead and just read the definition. So first of all, just get a basic cognitive definition from like a canon standpoint. So on Wikipedia or StarWars.fandom through Wikipedia, it says that the lightsaber, also referred to as a laser sword by some of those who are unfamiliar with it, was a weapon typically used by the Jedi, the Sith, and other Force sensitives. Lightsabers consisted of a plasma blade powered by a kyber crystal that was emitted from a usually metal hilt and could be shut off at will. It was a weapon that required skill and training and was used greatly enhanced when it was in conjunction with the Force. So, just riding off of that, most of the time, that's why you had to be a Force user to wield a lightsaber. We've seen some examples a couple of times where people had it that weren't Force wielders, but you had to be of considerable skill because you could kill yourself really easily.
What was the question?
I didn't ask a question.
Oh, you didn't. Oh,
see, guys, he doesn't listen. He probably didn't hear anything I said for like the past 30 seconds.
I'm
right?
sorry. No, honestly, I have no idea what you said.
He doesn't listen, guys. He doesn't care what I say. Basically, I'm saying that we were, as we talked about before the episode.
Yeah, no. I know what our plan is.
Basically,
but I didn't know if you had read any of the questions.
No, I'm saying first, before we get to the questions, we're going to talk about what the definition of a lightsaber even is. So, anyway.
Continue.
Shut up. Anyway, okay. So, basically, yeah. So, a lightsaber, 9 times out of 10, had to be used by somebody with the Force because, if you're swinging something around, if you ever put a toy lightsaber at your house, plastic one, it's very easy to even if you don't just outright hit yourself, to like nick your arm or nick your leg. And with a real lightsaber, that would be detrimental.
Yeah, and in Legends, they played that like it really mattered.
Oh, yeah.
In New Canon, they've
had a few people that were not.
Well, like in New Canon, there's literally an episode, an issue of the main Star Wars comic where Chewbacca, Han, and Leia all have lightsabers, and they're like fighting with them.
That's kind of dumb. I'm not gonna lie.
No, it was dumb, and I was like, this is too far. This is, it's just like. What's the word? Gratification, like
self-gratifying.
Yeah,
I'm not sure what you're referring to.
You know what?
Right now,
there's it's almost like indulgence just for the sake of it, like self-indulgence.
Oh yes,
you know what I'm saying? Like,
I know there's no word. There's a word.
There's a word. I'm not using the correct
indulging
ones,
just for the sake of.
But you guys know. You guys know what I mean.
Yeah.
Hopefully you know what I mean.
Opulence. I don't know. Anyway, but yeah, that is pretty stupid because like one of the only times we see in canon other than I guess this new episode or new issues, which was I believe it was Tar Vizsla, which was the Mandalore over Mandalore, and he created the he was a Jedi though, so he did end up he probably had to have Force sensitivity. So I rescind that. But we have Pre-Vizsla, who wielded the Darksaber and didn't have Force sensitivity. So, I mean, there are times in canon where people have wielded them. They just have to be very, very skilled. Like, very skilled. Because if you could easily kill yourself. So, that is a lightsaber. And so now let's get into some quick history of the lightsaber. So one of the first iterations of a lightsaber is what they call a proto-saber. And this occurred, originally in the Old Republic. And so this is no longer canon any longer. This is Legends, which is a shame because this is pretty cool. But the original lightsabers were basically powered off of a battery pack. So they had a big pack on the side of their belt that had a cord that would go up to their lightsaber, and that's how it would be powered, which makes sense, first of all. But second of all, I just thought that was a pretty funny image. But that is actually no longer the case anymore. That's not how it was. Now, in canon, though, there is something called a proto-saber, which is one of the original versions, which we see in what was it, Vader Immortal, which I have not still played yet, which we're going to eventually do on my video. But the proto-saber basically had two physical spikes or tines that came off the side, and much like the Death Star, it projected plasma up from those two tines at a perpendicular angle, and it hit each other, and it'd go up and create the lightsaber blade. So, and it kind of condensed down to just one singular blade through the emitter. So, the funny thing is that I wish it didn't change, because now the history of a lightsaber is basically still just a lightsaber. It didn't have the funny battery pack and all that stuff like that,
Yeah, it appears that they kind of just like were pretty much the same. I mean, because
the day they invented the lightsaber,
it's supposed to have been a pretty ancient weapon that we get from Lord Corvax.
Yeah,
but I guess it's still possible they could go even farther back and eventually show like the lightsaber with the battery pack or whatever. But
right,
but
I doubt it.
I'm thinking since they've shown this, that means that's kind of, they're doing away with that. But.
So they kind of like dug themselves into a hole a little bit on that, which they have done on a couple different things for the Old Republic.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, we can get more on that, but that's not what this is about. Okay, so now we know what a lightsaber is. We know some of the history of the lightsaber. So we're going to get more into some of the other details later on, but now let's get into some questions. So the very first question we got was from like 2 weeks ago, I think it was, from Kristen Perry, who says, if somebody dropped a lightsaber, so point first, would the lightsaber just keep going through the floors and other materials? So I'll go ahead and give you my quick answer, and then Andrew, you can elaborate. But basically, my answer would be it depends, but no is my main answer. So it depends again on the context. But okay, so you drop it point first onto the floor. Well, what we know 9 times out of 10 is that the saber itself, like the plasma that's coming out, is usually not as wide as the hilt. So just an easy answer is, okay, so it goes straight through the floor. It's probably going to stay at the hilt because the circumference of the hole that the saber would make is not as big as the hilt. So that's my quick answer. Secondarily, we see in episode 1, Phantom Menace, they try to go through the blast doors, and what did he do? Qui-Gon had to push the lightsaber through it. So it could cut through it, but it was so thick that it had to be pushed. So depending on the density of the material, it may not go through. And last but not least, I don't know this for sure. I know there's a manual switch that turns them off, but I want to say that if you just let go, I think you almost have to hold it on. That's not always the case, but almost every time that we see a lightsaber leave somebody's hands just by accident or whatever, it almost always turns off immediately. What are your thoughts on that part specifically? I'm kind of curious about that.
On that specifically, it is my understanding that lightsabers are created to turn off when they are let go of. Now, people's argument would be, well, what about like they throw them and stuff?
There has been times,
there's actually answers for that in novels and things. It is said that the reason the blade stays on is through the Force. They're actually using the Force to continue for that blade to stay on,
right.
And that is the only reason why a blade would stay on when you have let go of it.
Like I said, I'll let you continue, but let me quickly interject is that yes, while there are switches, the biggest part of a lightsaber is the kyber crystal, which is connected to the Jedi specifically through the Force. So anyway, go ahead.
Yeah, so basically just the way they're crafted is for a Jedi to be able to in a sense kind of control it, right? In a little bit.
Yeah,
and so when anytime you have seen a Jedi like throw a lightsaber and that, like we see Rey do, and she's using the Force to keep that blade going. So circling back to the original question, if someone dropped their lightsaber from
point first down, do you think it would continue to go through the floor?
So I guess we have to assume they are purposely doing this because the Jedi would have to use the Force to continue to let it go.
Right.
I actually think it's very possible, yes, because if you think about it, so let's say it's just like a Durasteel floor or something, okay?
Yeah.
And you see it, and I agree with you. The hilt would be larger, so it wouldn't just automatically fly. It would automatically just fall down, right?
Right.
It would stop, but I think the blade would eventually heat that up to the point to where it would expand, melt, and then would continue to go.
So I guess that depends on the time frame. Is a big
yeah, like it wouldn't be an instant thing. It
Right.
would probably fall, and then after time, if you continue to let that run, it would eventually get so hot that it would, and then it would continue to go. But the Jedi is going to have to continue to use the Force. All that being said, if you dropped a lightsaber, would it go all the way through the earth off to into the other side? No, probably not. That's because you hear people ask those kind of questions. I think the answer would be you could for a while, but then probably not.
Yeah,
because you'd either get tired of waiting, or or you couldn't sense it in the Force anymore. Stuff like that.
so the overarching answer is I don't think it would do it at all because. If it was by accident, dropped, right?
Yeah, exactly.
The lightsaber would just turn off.
Right.
But say it was on purpose, again, it kind of depends on the material, because in my mind, if it's like Durasteel or something like that, my mind wants to say that it would almost bounce off a little bit. It would lay there and eventually start to melt at the tip a little bit and sink in. You know what I'm saying? Because Qui-Gon does have to, he pushes it and then he pushes it in. You know what I'm saying?
That's also a good point.
So,
you're right.
It's getting a little too deep into this.
Yeah, it's getting, but that is kind of a good point. If you, but again, if a Jedi, the only way it's going to happen is if a Jedi is purposely doing it. So in my eyes, a Jedi is already going to be pushing down to the ground or using the Force to push it to the ground. Yeah. Because if it's just falling, it's not going to happen.
Exactly.
Because a Jedi.
So I think the easy answer is no. If it's on an accident, if it was just they dropped it, no, it's not going to happen. But if they're intentionally trying to, then probably yes for a little while.
So there you go, Kristen. There's the most detailed answer for that possible.
Ever. Okay, so great question, but here comes Alex with an even more in-depth question about lightsabers. This is very scientific, and what's funny is that I actually have already thought about this, and I've actually read it a little blog article about this too. So I'm prepared to talk about this. So Alex,
I forget what the question is, so I'm not prepared to talk about this.
Well, anyway, I'll tell you, so don't worry. So Alex Mason, his question was an interesting thought, and you really don't have to think about it because we don't get to experience it. We will, though, because as you hear by the first question, we will overthink it. So, but in the Star Wars universe, since lightsaber blades are made out of plasma and controlled by electromagnetic fields, this would render the quote-unquote blade almost completely weightless. That being said, do you think that if we actually had real lightsabers in real life, when you swung it, it would feel like you were just swinging the hilt of the saber around? Or do you think that you would be able to feel the tension of the plasma interacting with the surrounding atmosphere, thus making the blade feel like it has some weight? First of all, that's a phenomenal question. Now, I will say this, and
that's a smart person question.
Yes. So I have a semi-smart answer for this. So plasma, as we know it in the measurement of matter, right? Plasma has no matter. It's not even so. Gas even has some matter, but plasma, which was the fifth state of matter. I don't know, whatever. I don't. I'm not. Like I said, I'll give you a semi-smart answer. But plasma has no tangible matter. It has no weight. It has no matter. And furthermore, it's in the lightsaber, it's being reined in by electromagnetic field, which would probably dissipate any weight that it would have anyway. So yes, I would agree with you that it would feel weightless, that when you ignited a lightsaber, all you would feel in terms of weight is the handle or the hilt. And even if you would go to swing it, it's as if he was just swinging nothing, swinging air. And that's why actually Jedi are probably super skilled, and you'd have to have the Force, because not only are you swinging a blade that could absolutely just massacre you if you even nicked yourself, right? You don't even feel the weight of the blade, so you don't even have that context, right? So here's the thing. This is the kind of but to my answer, right? Here's this but. So Yes, there would be, as you're swinging the lightsaber, you would feel no weight, but there would be some type of tension when you interact with other matter, right? Because when plasma reacts with tangible matter, something solid in a solid state, it does have a reaction. And as we can see, that's in real life, but in Star Wars, we see it again. Qui-Gon, what does he do? He stabs the saber into a Durasteel blast door. He has to push it through. So whenever the plasma would interact with other matter, that's when you would get the feeling of tension. But if it was just going through the air, I would venture to say that no, you wouldn't feel anything. Drew, anything to add?
Well, I mean,
so anyway,
I think you covered all the bases there. The only thing I think is interesting that I do want to point out is, we're talking about how lightsabers are weightless and things. I will say there are a lot of novels and stuff talk about lightsabers as being balanced. Mm-hmm. So I don't know if they're completely weightless as much as they just have a very I guess balanced feel to them.
Yeah.
But George Lucas always intended for them to be more like the weight of a great sword, like in medieval times.
Really?
Yeah. Now, when it got to the prequels, that of course changed, as you can see. Like they are very, very fast.
Oh yeah.
So clearly that idea changed. But originally he wanted them to be very heavy.
We can see that in the Obi-Wan Vader battle.
And if you think about it in those terms, you can see that they're supposed to be real heavy. And I think they, of course, the prequels, Obi-Wan and Anakin are swinging them around like
nuts,
they're...
Yeah.
So,
and I think that's kind of why it changed, because scientifically speaking, plasma, it has no matter. It has no weight to it. So, I mean, it would make sense that he's kind of like, okay, it doesn't really make sense why it would be a great sword.
And I know also in Legends, there was a lot of times where somebody that wasn't a Jedi would try to carry a lightsaber, and they would be awkward and kind of heavy and they unbalanced, where then a Jedi would hold it, and it would be that perfect balance.
It's pretty interesting. Now, it could be something to do with the electromagnetic fields that are holding it too, and they might kind of do something to it. I don't know.
Who knows? That's all I wanted to add to it. I think again, you covered it very greatly. So
well, I appreciate that.
You're welcome.
And when I spoke on it, it was kind of in the context of like real life. And here's the thing:
I was just throwing out a little fun fact there.
And that's what I'm saying. Here's the thing, right? At the end of the day, this is Star Wars. It's not real life. And this is a galaxy far, far away. Who knows that their laws of physics and thermodynamics and aerodynamics and all stuff like that is different than our own. So maybe matter or plasma does have matter. I don't know.
I mean, honestly, it might be different, and it might feel different on every planet for all you know.
Yeah, and different atmospheric densities and all things. Who knows? So, and last thing I'll say about it, but so here's the thing: we know that when you go to the rainforest, right, the atmospheric density is much higher than you would be here in the Midwest, because there's higher density of water in the air, right? So it's like when you get to a really muggy, what's the word I'm looking for? Like the actual good word for it, like the scientific word. Not muggy, but you know what I'm saying though.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of it.
Humidification or humidity.
Humidity. Yeah.
Oh boys, we're getting anyway. Okay, so last thing I said, I'm just getting crazy. Basically, the denser the humidity, the more humidity, the denser the air is. So maybe on places like Kashyyyk and what's the other jungle planet I'm thinking of?
Felucia.
Yes, Felucia. Yes. Maybe there is some, because the plasma is interacting with some sort of matter, which is the humidity in the air. Who knows? Anyway, too much. So again, referring back to Alex's question, interesting thought. You really don't have to think about it because we don't get it to experience it in real life. But so yes, we took that but very far, and we really explained that question. So you're welcome.
So there you go. Over-explained question number 2. Now on to our third over-explained.
Yes. Also, before we get to our third question, Alex Mason did have a secondary question. It has nothing to do with lightsabers. And he just wanted to say, just curious about...
no. I already know this is going to...
Just curious about the rest of the merch lineup. I mean, if Andrew would put half as much effort into getting that done as he does attacking me, he would already have a second merch line roll out.
That hurts. Okay.
That's funny.
Listen,
That's funny.
I'm trying, but like,
Ooh.
this company that we're working through hates my guts. Apparently.
Oh man. You mistreat him like you treat Alex.
I didn't realize it was going to be this difficult. I'm not sure what I'm going to do about that, but I am still looking into it.
Yeah.
Eventually, we will have more merch.
If you guys have any suggestions of like things outside of like clothes and stuff like that, like if there's anything else that you would like to see, please let us know.
And if there are like designs you want to see, like or quotes or anything,
yes, exactly.
let us know, because apparently just our Jedi Eternal is hard enough to get on there, but maybe something else will be easier. So if there's something you want,
if anybody wants to work with us to design something, we'll gladly accept your help.
If you want to create some artwork for us,
that's not copyrightable.
we would love to take that from you and not pay you a dime. So
and just be like, hey, good job, so and so. We really appreciate it. And
give
then
you a pat on the back
and move on,
and then make money off of your hard work.
Make like $3 off of it, but hey, whatever.
$250.
$250. Anyway, hey, it's all for good cause, right? Anyway, so moving on to our third question, which is about lightsabers, and this is coming from Kristen again, who says, "How is a lightsaber?"
Where was everybody else at? Were they sleeping this week or something?
They didn't care. Actually, no. To be fair, there was one by Brandon Dukes, and we're moving it to next week because it didn't have to do with lightsabers, and we would have 3. So,
okay,
Brandon, we apologize. But
to everyone else, do you guys just not like us anymore? Do you not listen to us anymore?
What is it?
Are we just old news?
Yeah, I think that's what it is.
I just want to know why no one wants to ask us questions.
Yeah. Anyway, okay. So
moving on.
Getting the depression out of the way. Third question comes from Kristen again, who says, "How is a lightsaber able to be energized? Do they have a specific power source? Also, if so, does that mean Jedi have to charge their lightsabers or change the batteries?"
I think we kind of already basically answered this question.
Did we?
I mean, basically, but I mean, we can go over it again.
Answer is yes. There is a battery in there. Basically, the battery though is it sends a pulse to the kyber crystal, which then is this power source of the crystal. It channels the energy through the crystal and creates the plasmic blade. But here's the thing. I actually pulled this up. So in Star Wars Episode 1, Phantom Menace, in the script, there was unused footage. There's unused scene. Now, they actually did film this, but it was unused. But I'll just read you part of the script here. This is kind of interesting. The 2 troopers fire laser bolts at Obi-Wan. Qui-Gon deflects the bolts back, and the staps blow up. 1, 2, I don't know. This is script. Who knows? Obi-Wan is exhausted and tries to catch his breath. Obi-Wan, "Sorry, Master. The water fried my weapon," referring to his lightsaber. Obi-Wan pulls out his burnt laser sword handle. Qui-Gon inspects it as Jar Jar pulls himself out of the mud. Qui-Gon says, "You forgot to turn your power off again, didn't you?" Obi-Wan nods sheepishly. Qui-Gon continues, it won't take long to recharge, but this is a lesson I hope you've learned, my young Padawan." Obi-Wan, "Yes, Master." So clearly, yes, there is a battery in it. In fact, if you look it up, it does say. Now, I don't know if this is canon.
We do. I was going to say we do have to keep in mind that this was the script, and they did not choose to actually follow that. Right. So therefore, I don't think we can necessarily base it off of that.
So I'm going to read this, and we can try to figure out if this is technically canon or not. It says lightsabers are powered by a kyber crystal, so that's the kind of the base source. There has to be an energy pulse sent to the kyber crystal in order to get it to power up. But is the internal energy storage source that activates the kyber crystal, which is a diadium power cell, which we do hear about diadium in several different mediums throughout Star Wars. So I wouldn't be surprised if that is true. And it says the internal diadium power cell of lightsaber is rechargeable. And I read on something else that said, sorry about that. Good grief. I'm talking too much. I think that's the problem. So can ran out of power, but it says that it can be recharged via a charging port located at the bottom or the side of the hilt. So, according to what I'm reading, yes, that it is possible to be recharged, and that yes, it needs to be recharged. I would imagine it probably doesn't need to be recharged that often, if I had to guess, because again, these diadium power cells are just sending pulses of energy to the kyber crystal, which then is able to be turned off using the will of the Force, right? Whatever. So, Drew, do you have anything to add to that?
I don't necessarily know that I agree with you on it needing to be charged. I've never heard of anyone saying, "Oh, I got to charge my lightsaber."
I'm just reading this. I'm not saying I definitively agree with this. I'm just saying this is what.
Yeah, no. I mean, you asked what, so I'm just telling you.
Well, don't say it like to me. I'm just saying, like, I don't agree with you. I'm like, well, you don't agree with what I'm reading. Okay, just say it like that. All right. Good.
I don't. Again, like I don't. I've never heard of it needing to be recharged.
Mm-hmm. And if you go on the Star Wars fandom and the Wikipedia and stuff, I don't see where it mentions that. Because I tried to do a page search for charge and battery, and neither thing came up. So, I mean, here's the thing: we know that they can sustain water, right? We see people swim with lightsabers on. In fact, we even see in Clone Wars, we see them use lightsabers under the water. So we definitely know that it's it's possible to use underwater and stuff like that. So that's not what we're even talking about, but but anyway,
let me see something here.
I apologize. I'm trying to get a drink here. I'm like on the verge of coughing. I don't know why. Excuse me. So, a lot of nice dead space here. I apologize. Let's see here. Yeah, I don't think. The problem is we probably should have looked this up before we got on.
You think?
Yeah. So let's kind of move on a little bit. If Drew, you want to continue looking on this, you can.
Yeah, well, I mean, there's people saying stuff.
Right. Which, I read several different articles that said that there was batteries, that they did have to charge them, but it was primarily the kyber crystal that powered it. So, but again, I can't find a legitimate Wikipedia canon section that says that. You know what I'm saying? So anyway, so while Drew's looking at that, we can kind of move on a little bit. So I want to talk about a couple more things. And Drew, you wanted to add some more things later on, but I want to talk about maybe some different lightsaber variations so that we see in... actually, before I move on, we're talking about the lightsaber losing power. So pause your research because I want to talk to you about this for 2 seconds, okay?
Okay.
We're talking about lightsaber losing its power. But in Rebels...
Actually, let me just read this to you real quick.
Oh my gosh. Okay, go ahead.
This is talking about the diadium, and this is from Wikipedia. Now, again, I think this is actually a Legends thing, but let's just go ahead and assume it's probably they're probably still kind of following the same history with that, or science of that. And this says here that due to the power cell's natural recharging abilities, if assembled correctly, a power cell could last indefinitely.
So again, that makes more sense because this is what I was about to say. Okay, there is a battery. We kind of understand that and know that. We look at diagrams of sabers, and I'm pretty sure you can see a battery. But the point is about the whole recharging part. But if you look at Rebels, remember when they go to I don't remember the planet, but it has the Sith temple where they meet Maul.
Malachor.
I think it was Malachor, yeah. And Ezra picks up one of those cross-bladed lightsabers, and while it was out, it looked like it did run out of battery, but it still powered on after all of that time. So it does clearly run out of battery, but it does look like it could last for a super, super, super long time. So I think that makes the most sense that there is like the diadium or whatever it's called battery in it, but a lot of times it can like almost self-recharge itself. So I think that's kind of the long and short answer. We can come back to it, maybe at a later date, post on our Facebook on the comments or something along those lines. We don't take too much more time on this question. But hey, Kristen, apparently it's a great question because you stumped us a little bit. Like I said, we usually research our questions before we get into the episode, but it's been a really weird day. So anyway, we got a little cocky with the other two. So, all right. So
I mean, hey, it is what it is.
It is what it is. So, let's just look at a couple different variations of lightsabers. So I'm on Star Wars.fandom, which is the Wikipedia partner or whatever, and so we're gonna go through some of the different ones. We obviously have the single-bladed lightsaber. Obviously, we have the double-headed lightsaber. We see a couple of variations of that, which is the hinged double-bladed lightsaber, which we see. I think that was in Rise of Skywalker with Rey.
Yep.
We also see it in Clone Wars with the evil dumb frog Jedi dude that turns on all the clones. I can't remember his name, and I don't want to know his name because he's a jerk. Anyway,
You love him.
I do not. Anyway, he has those two. Remember, there's the double-bladed spinning lightsabers, which we see with the Inquisitors. Yes, the split lightsaber, where they kind of like they can split off or they can be connected as one. We have the lightsaber pike. And there's like this, the broad sabers, and there's great lightsabers, cross guard lightsabers, and we see that of course with Kylo, and we even see it in Rebels as well. We have the curved hilt, which we see with Dooku. There's the cane lightsaber, which we see with what's his name? He's in Clone Wars. He's like the old master, but he has a cane lightsaber. I can't remember. Of course, there's also the Shoto lightsaber, which is the smaller one, which we see Ahsoka use, and also a kind of, I guess you could say that kind of Yoda uses as well, but could just be just a shorter bladed single blade. And a couple of just small other ones. We have like the light whip. We see that a couple of times. Lightsaber pistol.
That's used by Vanessa Rowe in the High Republic. Middle grade novel. I don't remember what the name of it is.
Wow, come on. And also like light whip. I think we also see it in Clone Wars whenever Obi-Wan gets captured by those cat Egyptian goddess looking people. And he tries to pull his lightsaber and they whip his hand. But I don't know if that's the same exact context, but it might be. And then you have, of course,
hers like goes from like a normal lightsaber and then can transition into a whip.
Okay, so then never mind. That's probably not the same context. And then the lightsaber pistol, which we see Ezra use at the beginning of Rebels. And then last but not least, we have the dark saber, which is, of course, the infamous saber we've been seeing a lot in Mandalorian, which was created by Tar Vizsla. So those are pretty much all of the Sith variations. Of course, then we have, if you want to talk about this, kind of dumb, but like Sith lightsabers, which is not really a Sith lightsaber. It's just a lightsaber corrupted by the Sith. So it could be any number of one of these that's just corrupted by the Sith. So, excuse me. So those are all the different variations that you would see. And so Drew, what I think we talked about this before, but what is your favorite design? After all of those that I talked about, what is your favorite, or perhaps what would be one that you would want to use the most?
I honestly think the one that I just love so much now, and I can't get enough of the look of it, is in the High Republic, the Great Sword, like having that like hilt,
that looks sick.
With the, I think I might be wrong about this, but I think, I'm not gonna remember his name now. One of the main guys that they've shown pictures of and stuff on there.
Yeah, I know you're talking about.
But he hasn't actually been that heavily involved in any of the stories yet.
Avar's the girl.
No, that's the girl. I have a graphic that has all their names for this specific reason, but now I can't.
Lightstorm or something like that. Isn't it? Is that it?
His name is Stellan Gaios.
Oh, okay.
I think, if I remember right, he has one that looks pretty awesome. I don't have that exact.
Is he like the human with like
here.
Brown hair or whatever?
He's very typical like Jedi look.
Yeah.
He's got longer brown hair and a brown beard.
Yeah.
He kind of like a Obi-Wan Kenobi of the High Republic type look.
Right.
But anyways, ever since I've seen that, I've just been like, wow, that looks awesome. And so, again, it may not have been him. I wish I had that exact. I know I have that exact picture, but I'm not sure where it's at on my phone. But I love that look. And then of course, just like a normal lightsaber always just holds a special place in my heart. Oh yeah. No, definitely him. Here's a picture for the second novel that's coming out.
It is sick. It is definitely sick.
The Rising Storm. It actually shows it front and center. He's standing there with that lightsaber. And as you can see, it does have a little bit of light that goes from the hilt to straight to the middle of the blade there. It's such a cool design.
Oh yeah.
I hope they release that. I hope they make that.
All right, like
have that
some kind of like Black Series or something like nice. Yeah,
I hope really cool. I would love to have that one day. So that's mine.
Yeah, I mean, I could name off like all of these and be like, oh, that's kind of, like to some degree is like one of my favorites.
Right? Yeah. I mean, there's something great about all of them.
I would probably use a typical, like if I was to use one, I would probably just have the typical like broad saber, whatever you want to call it, just the single blade. I actually talked about this in a couple episodes ago. I've always loved like dual sabers. I've always thought that was so cool. And I do like the cane, or not the cane, but the curved hilt like Dooku. I think it's just because I like Dooku a lot. But yeah, now that I've been seeing this like great sword lightsaber with the hilt, I have to admit, yeah, I've been coming around to that too, and that looks sick. I mean, because we love knights, and I think that's part of the reason why I like Jedi too, because they're so similar. But yeah, I would have to say that's probably one of my favorites as well. So yeah, I think one of the last things that I personally want to talk about, unless there's other things that you want to talk about, but I thought like the last one, at least we could maybe go over the 7 or 8. I have to go look at it again. 7. The 7 lightsaber forms, and maybe some like notable people who's used that. And then, like I said, if there's anything else you want to add to that, or we can talk about other subjects as well. So, as I said, that there is 7 different forms of saber fighting. So, form 1 is called Shicho, and this is the first form that any Jedi will learn this. In fact, even a lot of Sith utilize this as well. It's just the most basic form. If you're going to learn lightsaber, this is what you'll use or learn first. And yeah, I mean, and basically you might learn other things off of this, but you always will learn this first. So in terms of like popular practitioners and stuff like that, basically every Jedi will. I don't know there's one that like always sticks to Form 1, but you're going to see pretty much every Jedi use that. So Form 2 is Makashi. And so it says that there's with lightsabers operate at a significant advantage. Let me read this again. But basically, this is a help. It's basically to use force a lot more. Makashi is a graceful form suited for a skilled duelist, and it relies on careful and controlled strikes through the force instead of power and strength. So one of the big practitioners of Makashi is of course Count Dooku. We see he's like one of the greatest duelists, and he's very precise, very direct hits and stuff like that. No wasted movement. So you have that there. Form 3 is Suresu, and it's more of a defensive form. It says it allows the Jedi to block and even reflect back blaster bolts. And so one of the biggest people who uses Form 3 Suresu is our favorite Obi-Wan Kenobi. Because he's the negotiator, right? He's using the defensive form more. It's instead of being outright attacking.
He was known to be a master of that.
Yeah, he was a master of Form 3. Then we have Form 4, which is Ataru. And this one is used quite a bit by Yoda.
Interestingly enough, it's considered one of the most aggressive forms. And
yes.
So it's kind of funny that Yoda uses it. But if you watch, Yoda's quite the aggressive fighter.
Quite the aggressive fighter. And he kind of has to be because, right, he has to rely on the Force a lot. And it's not ironic necessarily, but it's appropriate because Form 4 is it heavily relies on Force, right, to assist them in being acrobatic, flipping around, being aggressive and fighting like they are, attacking from all sides type thing. So yeah, it's a very, again, force-based with acrobatics and things of that nature, which we see Yoda use. Then we have Form 5, which is Xian, or it's called Jimso. And this is actually used most popularly by Anakin Skywalker. And basically, it's very offensive. It's very just direct, forward, full of power and strength and things of that nature. Like it incorporates many of Suresu's strengths, which is including this use of solid block and parries with stronger counterattacks and riposés. But yeah, I mean, it's always very much just direct. It's forward. It's about using your power to come over them. So Anakin definitely uses that.
And then also use the reverse grip, which is, as we see, Ahsoka.
Exactly. I was gonna say, Ahsoka uses that. So it's appropriate, of course, that she takes it directly off of her master. Which you said something interesting earlier about her master's influence with her dual lightsabers.
Yeah, Filoni said that the reason that he designed her to eventually have 2 lightsabers was basically because she was learning from Anakin's aggressiveness, and that it was starting to kind of carry over into her style as well.
Yeah. So that's pretty cool, and like to see how her master is teaching her. Well, I mean, we see that a lot in Clone Wars. We don't want to get too much into that, but yeah, we can definitely see her master leeches over.
Just look at the Mandalorian.
Yeah.
I mean, she's very aggressive. Like in her style. Like I remember when I first watched it, and I think we talked about it a little bit, but it was like that was kind of dark. Like her style is very brutal, very aggressive. So.
Oh yeah. So let's move on. Form 6, which is called Niman. Basically, Niman is kind of like a combination of all of the other forms. It's very balanced. It's very in the middle, so to speak. And kind of a quote is that a master of Niman would avoid the traditional weaknesses of all the other forms, but importantly, none of the benefits will be quite as effective. So it's like, okay, you don't really have the weaknesses, but you really don't have the benefits either. So you're just right in the middle. So a pretty famous practitioner of Form 6 Niman is actually Darth Maul. But it's funny because Niman is actually one of the final forms that need to be mastered by all the Jedi to be if you're going to be like one of the best. Oh, sorry. I thought I heard like music. I'm like, what in the world was that? Anyway, point is that like you had to be, if you want to be one of the best, you have to be able to master Niman, which is like the synthesis. It's the combination of all of these forms. But funny enough, again, Darth Maul uses that.
Yeah, and it's believed that Sidious taught him that specific style to basically then subvert the Jedi's.
It makes sense.
Yeah,
it makes sense. He may not have all the benefits of each individual one, but he can kind of combat every other one he'd come across, right?
Right.
So, which is pretty cool. So, but the last one, which is Form 7, is probably one of the coolest ones, or most interesting, which is called Juyo, or most popularly known as Vapad. But this, it's very controversial. It's very crazy. But Vapad is basically, it mixes light side and dark side into it. And basically, the people who use this kind of use their emotions to fuel this very direct, relentless, attack on their enemies. And it's not that surprising, but one of the biggest people who uses Vapad, and actually one of the only people who uses Vapad that we know canonically, is Mace Windu. Mace Windu is one. Again, he had a lot of kind of controversy amongst his peers in the Jedi Temple, especially when he first started trying to use it, that maybe he would fall to the dark side. But Vapad balances the light and the dark. It uses emotion. And like basically, for a lot of people, if you can't control your emotion and you use it at all, it's easy to fall to the dark side. But that just goes to show you how powerful Mace Windu really was.
Yeah, interestingly enough, he used that form to control the darkness inside of him, basically.
Exactly.
It was his way of controlling it and using it for good.
Yeah, interesting is like, I was looking at this quote, it says, the Star Wars prequel era, Mace Windu became the sole known master of Vapad, developing the form to, like you said, control his inner darkness and channel it into his worthy goals. Yeah, he was very wary of teaching others Vapad because he didn't think anybody else was strong enough to succumb or to fight their emotions, which he probably was right. So that's always really interesting to know about. But those are all 7 forms, and those are kind of the biggest things we've talked about. We've talked about a lightsaber, like what is a lightsaber? We've talked about the history of the lightsaber. We've talked about some interesting physics related things of like some kind of fun, commonly asked questions that someone might have. And then we talked about saber hilt styles. We talked about fighting forms. So, Drew, is there anything else that you can think of that we need to talk about today about lightsabers? We're going to talk about everything Star Wars, or excuse me, everything lightsabers
and Star Wars.
And I mean, they go hand in hand, I guess.
No, I think that about covers it. I mean, we really went into a deep dive there.
Yeah, we did. A little too deep dive. I'm sorry, guys. We
talked.
It's late for us, so we're just like talking and having fun.
It's really funny that I'll just go ahead and say like before we started, we're like, yeah, this is gonna be a quick one. Like
it should have been by all rights, honestly.
It's an hour
any other
and a half.
day it might have been. There's some kind of internal clock with us.
No, it's so true. You're
there's
right.
An internal clock that wants to go for an hour and a half every time.
Well, that, and I also think like we knew that we didn't have as much, so like
We stretched it out.
we start stretching it out intentionally, but then we stretched it too far.
Folks, we had 3 news pieces, and then we had only 2 rumors.
Yeah.
We had one thing, and we didn't have a main topic, or like our Q&A and main topic was the same.
So anyway,
yeah.
I hope you guys enjoyed it, but maybe you were really bored. Maybe
Yeah.
you hate. Maybe you've decided you're never gonna listen to us again.
Well, don't let this one time ruin
but-
it for the other one.
Please come back next week. We'll be better, I promise.
No, but for real though, we're just so thankful for everybody listening. It is so fun. It's been kind of a weird time for us coming out of the New Year's. We had a 2-week break, and then we had some stuff, job change, and some of us got sick. So we had a couple weird weeks, but we're super excited to be here. Super excited to continue making episodes for you guys.
Yeah, and lots of good stuff ahead.
Oh yeah,
we have
absolutely.
We have a lot planned for this year, and we'll hopefully start rolling out some new stuff soon.
Yeah. I was wanting to do this at the beginning of the episode, and I kind of forgot because most people's probably already left. But I do want to plug one more time. We haven't said it for a little while. I do want to plug our GoFundMe account on our merch store.
Yeah.
As you all know, if you go to our Facebook page, it's kind of one of the pinned things. But we are trying to raise some money for what we like to call Jedi Eternal 2.0, which is kind of what we think is the next phase. We've been just doing strictly podcasts for a long time. We dabbled every once in a while into streaming and videos and stuff. But as you all can see from our streams and our live videos and stuff, it's kind of, the audio's not great, the video's not great, and we're operating off of kind of bad equipment and just like cell phones and stuff. So, point is that we would love to make better content for you all on not just here on the podcast, or on YouTube, and maybe some short videos for Facebook and Instagram, things of that nature, and really start expanding. But again, we just want to plug that one more time. If you would like to hear more of us, you can do so by, and you like what you're hearing, you can do so by donating to our GoFundMe for the Jedi Eternal 2.0 fundraiser. Of course, like I said, if you want to support us, hey, buy some merch. Actually, I had a good friend of mine, our family friend, as Billy Cobb. He bought a hat, and I think he bought a shirt, and one other thing I can't even remember. But he said he came up to me the other day. He said he was wearing his hat around, I think went to Best Buy, and he said 3 different people approached him and said, "Hey, like Star Wars and stuff. Like, what's your hat about?" And he told him about our podcast. So
thanks,
shout out to Billy.
Yeah, that's awesome. Thank you so much.
But yeah. So
yeah, hey, if you want to see 2 grown men cry tears of joy, go buy our merch. Go help us out on GoFundMe.
We definitely shed tears.
We will shed tears.
Yeah,
we will hug each other and cry. And yeah, I mean, listen, if you like this and you want to see this continue, it's going to depend on you guys.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
We can sit here and do this for years to come, but like if we want to ever get to better things, it's going to require your guys' help in some way, and that may just be an encouragement. I mean, with that, if you don't have the money, as long as you let us know you're there and listening, that also means a lot too.
You can donate kind words.
Exactly. No, but it does a lot for us when we just know you're there. So
I mean, again, it sounds cheesy, but we did that not fundraiser, but we did a giveaway for a book. It was one of the first ones that we did for Thrawn, and we asked people, hey, if you want to earn extra entries, you can follow us here, you can leave a review, and we just kind of threw some stuff out there, and man, you guys started like leaving us reviews, and it was just the nicest thing. It literally, like, I wouldn't say I teared up or anything, I've never done that before, but anyway, no, but I started reading the stuff, and like how people say, like, just every week that you listen, and it's just so fun, it's so awesome, and we love the podcast. I mean, this is super encouraging. So we know you guys are out there. We really appreciate you all. We're so thankful that you continue to support us. We thank you for those who have already donated, already bought merch. We hope that you guys continue well. But even if you just listen to us, we are so, so grateful, so thankful. But we'd love to hear from you all. Please reach out to us, whether it be a DM or in comments. We just love to hear you. Say hi. Know you're out there. Like and follow us on Facebook and Twitter for weekly news, polls, discussions, memes, everything in between. And then also follow us on Spotify and Apple Podcasts and leave us a review if you'd like. But we thank you so much for listening, and thank you for being a part of our community. But join us next week for episode 52. But last but not least, may the Force be with you, and we thank you for joining the Jedi Eternal.